Welcome to Fashion Crunch. My name is Alex Batdorf. I'm the CMO of ZipFit Denim. We simplify and customize men's jean shopping. Today I'm going to be chatting with Miss Sharon Schneider of Moxie Jean. Thank you for being here, Sharon.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And tell me a little bit about Moxie Jean. How did you guys start?
So we started actually from just an experience I had where I was a consultant, I was traveling, I was busy, but I also had 3 small kids.
Oh, wow.
And when my youngest was 1 and my niece was born, I was going through the boxes of clothes that I had packed away in my closet, that my own kids had outgrown, thinking, what can I send to her, what's in good shape? And I was just, I thought, I don't have time for this. I mean, I really don't. And yet, you don't want it to go to waste. And so I thought, I can't be the only one, and there just was no good solution. I mean, eBay is like the wild, wild west, and garage sales, who has time for that? Yeah. And, there were these pop-up consignment sales, but it was a huge amount of work for a really small amount of money. And so I really, in failing to find any other solution, I thought, let's build something. Let's do this.
Awesome. And I read that you guys used to be called Good Karma Clothing for Kids. So what made you want to change the name? And then what is Moxie Jean? Where did that name come from?
Sure. So Good Karma, I loved that name because the idea was the clothing, what comes around goes around. Yeah. But it actually was very polarizing. So for some people loved it, like me, obviously. But a lot of other people saw it and immediately thought, oh, it's like a crunchy granola, yoga moms, and that's not me. As one kind of advisor to us said, well, it sounds like those people are maybe okay with a little dirt, which was not really what we were going for. So it was very polarizing. And so when we actually changed our business model 2 years ago, that was a great opportunity. We said, new business model, let's take the opportunity and rebrand. So we went to the Moxie Awards that Built in Chicago has, and we were like, Moxie, I like that word. Yeah. She's got Moxie. And after that, it was honestly about finding something that was rhythmic and that we could get the .com.
Yeah.
Because it is so hard. And when you have a consumer-facing website, you just have to have the .com.
Yeah, we're still fighting. We were a .me for a while, and we're still fighting for ZipFit.com. We have ZipFit Denim, but and that's a good segue. So you guys used to be a subscription-based business model, and you see that a lot now with the trunk clubs and the Stitch Fixes out there. But then you went to the consignment business model. So why did you do that pivot, and then also how has it impacted your company today?
Yeah, so we made that change because subscriptions, I have kind of come to feel, are a burden. They're a burden for people. At first they think it's going to be a convenience, but then that subscription piles up in the corner, making you feel guilty just looking at you, like you didn't use it up and now you're getting behind, or you didn't make the craft, or whatever it is. And for us, in our case, because the clothing, the idea was you'd get the size you need now and then you'd send it back, but the burden was you had to take care of it in the meantime. You were essentially borrowing it. And we heard from our customers, or more importantly from our non-customers, that the idea of taking care of our clothing was stressful, and so we said, well, how do we keep the core of what we're trying to do, which is reuse the great kids' clothes that have been outgrown and are still in excellent condition, but lift the burden. And so we lifted the subscription. We said, what if we just sell it to you? And then other things you can sell to us. And so it went from being a closed loop as the subscription to being really an open circle. You can come in and out at any point. And so when we made that decision, it was actually in the summer of 2012. We were going through the Accelerate Labs program, the accelerator, and we pivoted, and in 3 weeks we have relaunched with new name, new business concept, new website. We had 300 items or outfits for sale on our website, and by demo day, 8 weeks later, the new model had 5 times as many customers as the old model ever did.
Oh, wow.
So clearly it was, what moms wanted to see from us. So we've been making adjustments since then, but that was really the most critical moment in our business's life.
That's a great test. I mean, that's awesome for investors to see, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So Do you guys have brick and mortar locations, or are you just solely e-commerce?
We're solely e-commerce.
I find that so interesting and intriguing because, when I think of consignment, I always think of, the Buffalo Exchanges of the world. And I feel like as a consumer, I usually want to go in and touch and feel the products, especially when it's, secondhand, and make sure it's good quality. So how are you able to build that confidence with your customers? Because I feel like parents would be a harder sell because they want the best for their kids.
Yeah, well, first I should say we're actually resale, not consignment. So we pay you when we buy it, and then it's ours, and it's our job to find a buyer.
Oh, okay.
So with consignment, you have to wait until somebody sells it, and then you get a chunk. But we actually buy it outright. So what we found, one of the reasons we do resale is because it's a low price point for kids' items. So you're getting, a couple dollars for it. It's not worth it to track the owner all the way through the process.
Yeah.
It's much sort of simpler to pay you, and then it's ours, and we deal with it in our inventory from them. But also, you're absolutely right that wanting to kind of touch it, especially we're asking you to make a big leap by saying, hey, trust us, buy these used clothes over the internet. And so we focus a lot on building trust with our audience. So right now we have well over 1,000 5-star reviews of customers, both on our site and on other independent sites like reseller ratings. We have a 100% money back guarantee. So if you ever get anything that you don't think is like new, we just give you your money back. We try to be accessible and really, really active on social media. We answer our customer support really quickly. So all of those things combined with great merchandising. So that it's really clear photographs, you feel like you can really see the clothes, it's quality brands that you already know. So, all those factors together hopefully build trust. But it's definitely a little harder to get people over that hump the first time. But then they're kind of surprised and delighted when they get their package and it really is in excellent quality. So it builds kind of a great conversion, and then they tell everybody they know.
Yeah, those referrals are the biggest thing.
Yeah.
That can boost your company.
Yeah.
And I was looking at your Facebook. It's so many great, wonderful reviews from moms. So congrats.
Thank you.
And I also read the other day that you guys acquired a competitor, and you started in 2011, so that's pretty much a big deal.
Yeah.
How were you able to, do that in such a short period of time?
Yeah, it was a very small competitor.
Okay.
They were actually going out of business. They'd made the decision, and I called them up basically, and I said, they had prided themselves on the same kind of really quality, even exclusively boutique clothing, on really great white glove service. And as we talked, we felt like we had a lot of values in common that we shared, and that they were confident that we would serve their sellers very well. And so we were able to work out a deal to kind of help, instead of losing everything that they had built, to kind of transition it.
That's tough, and especially, I live in Wicker Park, and going down the street, you see so many businesses going out of sales, so are out of business. So I think that's an amazing thing just to acquire, even no matter how small it is. That's a great, triumph.
Yeah.
And what's always interesting to me is the discussion about women in tech and the lack thereof. And you sit on Mayor Rahm Emanuel's tech council, correct? Did you feel like coming into the startup world, especially in tech, you had to, overcome any obstacles or any barriers, and how were you able to overcome them?
I think that the biggest sort of obstacle, I would call it, that I've faced is that it's less about me as an entrepreneur, and it's more about the company that I started because I'm a woman entrepreneur. So, for example, we built our company first. It's a problem that moms face. Almost exclusively moms, right? 99% women. It's just not kids' clothes. It's just not usually something that men deal with, and so they don't feel the pain. They don't see the market. They don't get the appeal.
Yeah.
And so and so we built the company really as a community of moms helping moms, which is very appealing to our consumers. but 95% of investors are men. And so just like men, may not deal with their kids' clothes and their family, they kind of see our business and they go, yeah, I just don't know about this market. And, it's a very kind of vague, they don't come out and say, it's not like they go, I don't invest in women, I'm not interested in women. But if there's a company that is aiming at sort of a woman's issue that's a little amorphous, they may not feel interested or excited, because if they're supposed to be on the board, they're supposed to be giving you contacts, they're supposed to be, not just handing you a check, but really being advocates and being excited. They want companies that they're excited about. And so I think that there have definitely been many times where, people say thanks but no thanks, and it's sort of just this amorphous market reason. So I think that that's actually one of the challenges that women face when we start companies that are focused on women as a demographic.
I hear that a lot too. It's like, especially if you can't sell it to someone that might not, understand it, as a mom. They're not buying clothes. I mean, men aren't buying clothes for their kids often. I mean, my dad didn't. So
yeah,
I definitely understand.
Yeah, and I think that people think that, well, if the money's there, it speaks for itself. But the reality is that, there's many years before the money is just there. A lot of these overnight success companies are really 5 to 7 years and maybe 2 or 3 rounds of funding before they get to really proving that the money is there. They're not proving it any more than I'm proving it.
Exactly.
But are they willing to take a chance to see, if they can prove it or if I can prove it? And I think that it's those earlier rounds. But, we've been lucky to find some phenomenal investors.